and welcome to SCG Global Spin. Your host today is Stephen Younger. Stephen is a partner at Patterson Belknap, a New York City-based law firm where he has been for over 35 years. He is a leading commercial litigator who is also well known for his alternative dispute resolution work. In addition to Patterson Belknap, he was the past president of the New York State Bar Association, an organization of over 75,000 New York attorneys. Joining Stephen today is Claudia Barrero. Claudia is a partner at PPU and is based out of their Bogota office. She is an expert in mergers and acquisitions of listed companies with extensive experience in capital markets, infrastructure projects, and corporate governance matters. In addition to PPU, she is a professor of capital markets at many universities in Colombia.
First, I want to welcome you to today's SCG Global Spin segment. And to start off, I'd like to start with an easy question. Do you prefer coffee, tea, or perhaps something else?
Oh my God. I love both coffee and tea, but being Colombian, I must say I prefer Colombian coffee over anything else.
I like Colombian coffee too. Let's turn to a more serious subject. How has COVID-19 impacted your country in Colombia?
Wow. COVID-19 has impacted Colombia in many ways. We are just now seeing a spike in contagion and cases and deaths. We have been locked down since March 20, more than 100 days. It hasn't been a strict lockdown, at least not for all the sectors, but basically the economy has suffered a lot. We have lost many jobs. I was reading yesterday that the unemployment rate has doubled. It has now hit a record of 21.5%, which is, it's really, really big. Some companies have gone insolvency. Just to give you an example, our airline, Avianca, is now under Chapter 11 in New York. So it has hit the economy very bad.
Can you describe first for us whether you're still working from home? And I love your background, Claudia. And if so, what is the biggest adjustment that you and your firm have had to make in terms of office planning, dealing with working from home and working remotely?
We are still working from home. And more important, we don't see us going back to the office in the near future. I would say not before September. If things go the right way. So the biggest adjustment was having 100% of our employees working from home. We lawyers are used to work from home. We have the technology, but not 100% of the collaborators. Now we have everyone working from home. No one is going to the office. The office is shut down. So that was a challenge. Keeping the contact with the people was a challenge. I think now we're doing it better, but it was difficult at the beginning.
So Claudia, if I was a company in the United States calling you today, what would you be telling me about what sorts of things I should be looking for in Colombia?
Client-wise, I think you should be looking for companies wanting to refinance their debt. Definitely, that's probably the biggest one now. I would be looking to opportunistic and distress M&A. That has not been triggered yet, but hopefully it will in the next few months because, the assets have gone down in price. The Colombian peso has weakened vis-a-vis the dollar and the euro. So I think there will be very good opportunities to buy companies and get into sectors that were more expensive before. So opportunistic and distress M&A will be one thing to look to. And probably infrastructure projects in a couple of months.
Can you describe for us how collaborating with your clients has changed due to the pandemic?
It has changed. In Colombia, we were used to have a lot of in-person meetings, to travel a lot within the country to visit the clients. And in our firm, we have I don't know, 20 meeting rooms, and they were always busy. That's obviously not the case anymore, since even the internal flights are closed. The airports are closed in Colombia. So everything has to be done by phone, by Zoom meetings, Teams meetings. We're getting used to it, but in my view, nothing will replace the face-to-face meetings. And we lawyers need to build confidence, and it's important they see you. I'll just tell you something that I realized probably a month ago. Our internet is not very stable all the time. So we here in Colombia don't use the video when we do meetings, Zoom meetings or team meetings. But then I realized in the US and in Europe, they always use the video. So now I'm doing that because I think that's a way to, to feel more close to the people you're talking to, your team, your clients. So video is a good thing.
Can you describe for us whether this new reality of COVID-19 has sparked any firm-wide programs for PPU or any initiatives in terms of how you stay connected with your clients?
Oh, we've gone through many initiatives. We started with webinars. They were a bit long, and I think there was a webinar fatigue at some point because everybody was doing that. So these were law-related webinars, the new insolvency rules, the new employment rules, the new laws. Then we realized our clients were tired of webinars, so we passed to non-law related webinars, art, literature. We even did here in the firm, we did an event to raise money for hospitals. It was a great event. And we did raise a good amount of money for local hospitals with our people. It was internal, with DJs, and it was a social event. It was good. Now we are more into the podcast, webcast, shorter ones to get connected with clients. But definitely the best way, in my view, is to grab your phone and talk to them. Once a week, once every 2 weeks, call them, ask them how they're doing, see if they need you, say hello.
Now, how about the types of client requests you've gotten since COVID-19? Are there any new types of activities you've seen from your clients, any new practice initiatives that have developed as a result of the pandemic?
Well, we've seen a lot of insolvency-related requests. Unfortunately, a lot of contractual negotiation requests, lease agreements that are not going to be complied with, things like that. A lot of refinancing. All the companies are trying to refinance their debt, so we're working a lot of refinancing. And yes, we have a new practice, sanitary law. And sanitary law means how to go back to the offices. Under Colombian law, the government has issued a lot of decrees, making a lot of requirements to companies to be able to reopen their business. So that needs lawyers, and we're very busy on that, helping clients to prepare the protocols they need to prepare to open, and giving advice on what to do from the labor side.
Claudia, can you please share with us the current economic outlook for Colombia?
Wow, that's a tough one. The outlook, it's bad. I was reading recently that the Monetary Fund I think it was the World Bank, said that Latin America and the Caribbean will decrease at around 5, 6, even 8%. We're expecting Colombia will decrease its GDP between, I would say, 4 and 5% next year, which is a big decrease. We haven't seen that in many years. A lot of jobs will be lost. As I mentioned, we have now 21.4% of unemployment rate, and it will be worse. I read somewhere that 15% of our small companies will be closed by the end of the year. So that's also very bad. Um, I I think I think it's going to be very bad, but I think it's going to rebound. Probably 2021, it's going to be a real challenge, but I hope 2022 will will be back to normal, hopefully.
We're back to the new normal, as we say, right? Um, so, what sorts of financial support, stimulus packages has the Colombian government introduced in order to mitigate the impact of this crisis?
Well, some. Just to give you examples, we had tax deferral payments. So, taxes are not being paid on the usual schedule. That was deferred for the end of the year. Some of the pensions and labor benefits were also deferred. The government has given a subsidy to companies that lost more than 20% of the revenues, and that subsidy consists in paying 40% of the payroll. And this is because the government is trying that the unemployment does not increase more. Hasn't been successful on that, but that subsidy it's good for companies. The government is giving loans to certain companies in certain sectors. It's also guaranteeing loans. So the banks are giving loans that are being guaranteed by the government in certain sectors of the economy. So yes, we're seeing the government injecting money into the economy, but not as much as we need.
I think you've touched on this already, Claudia, but can you expand a little bit on the significant changes to Colombian law since the crisis? What sorts of issues has your government been prioritizing? Have there been laws that they've been suspending, for example?
Yes, I think the biggest one is the new express insolvency law. Uh, we had a insolvency law, but now we have these new laws that permit the companies to go into insolvency very rapidly. Um, the government wanting to save the companies, so that's one. There are new laws on lease agreements, and basically because there's a lot of companies going out of business, they want to return their facilities, and now they can do it without paying penalties. So that's another one. A lot of changes in labor law. Even though the government wants the companies to save and protect the employment, it's starting to give the companies the possibility to do layoffs and furlough people, which was not that easily permitted before. Now it's a possibility. There was even this is a very difficult one. The government imposed a 25% tax. It's called the solidarity tax to public employees. I think that won't stand, but we had that new tax for public employees to help the crisis. And well, we have other many laws on labor, contractual, every law trying to make it easier to go through the crisis.
Colombia has had a great tradition in recent times of having a very stable government that's been able to be very beneficial to business. Can you describe, what the political situation is in your country now?
I think we're stable. I think there is a bit of social unrest because a lot of jobs have been lost. Just remember, 50% of our economy is informal, so that brings this social unrest. But the government is giving subsidies, not everything we need, but it's working towards that. I think the national government and also the local governments are doing a good job, to tell you the truth. I think we're lucky given our neighborhood. But it's going to have a big impact. So even though I can foresee some social unrest, I don't think it's going to be as bad as in other countries.
How about your court system? Are your courts open now, or are they working virtually? How are they functioning as a result of this crisis?
That is certainly a big challenge. They are open, and they were open the past 1st of July. So we've been open like for a couple of days. But courts in Colombia do not have the means to work remotely. That is the truth, even if they want it. So the higher courts are working remotely, and they did keep on working remotely. But the lower courts, so that's 90% of the courts, don't have the means. What I know is that they're open now and they're working slowly, but the union of the court workers want to go on strike because they believe, and probably this is true, that they don't have all the guarantees they should have to go back to the office, to go back to work physically. But they're open now. They have been open for a couple of days now.
And have the courts suffered any sorts of delays as a result of this close down in terms of the processing of their caseloads?
Oh, definitely. They were closed. They were closed since March 16 until June 30. So yes.
And are there any sorts of new types of legal disputes that you're seeing in the courts? I know that you're an M&A lawyer, but have you followed whether there are any trends in the judicial activities?
I think we'll see a lot of contractual disputes more than ever. I think we'll see a lot of force majeure disputes, definitely. But we've only been open for a couple of days, so we still need to see that in the next weeks.
Now, you've touched on this a bit. We focused here in terms of broadband and technology on what we call the last mile, which in some places is actually more like 100 yards, and other places is about 100 miles. How is that for you in terms of evolving technologically and dealing with this world where we're all working virtually? Do you think Colombia has the tools to be able to have the bandwidth to deal with these virtual realities?
No. We here in Bogota, we have the tools. Law firms and private companies have the tools. But the public sector, I don't think so. And connectivity in Colombia, it's not the best. So there's a real challenge. We need to connect the country, and the government will have to invest a lot on that. And that is exactly the point with courts. Maybe the higher courts are able to work remotely, but not the lower courts. They don't have the means. We don't have the connectivity. So yeah, the answer is no. We're not there. We're 100 miles from there.
So let me actually put on your crystal ball hat. We're going to ask you to make some predictions, and the most important prediction will be, we won't hold you to this, but we would like you to tell us and share with us what the next 1.5 to 2 years will look like for Colombia. What is the new normal going to be like for your country?
I think it's going to be a very difficult year, the year we have ahead. Not necessarily firm-wise. I think our business is going to be okay because, when there's a crisis, lawyers are always needed. But economy-wise, I think it's going to be very difficult. I think unemployment is going to raise even more. I think we'll have social unrest. I think we'll have more poverty. The fight of these countries is to reduce poverty, and I think that is not going to be possible. So we'll have more poverty, and we'll need more investment from the government. However, I am sure that once the world discovers the vaccine and we're all having that vaccine, I'm pretty sure we'll go back to normal, the pre-pandemic normal.
And assume that happens, how do you see Colombia coming out of this economic difficulty?
I am sure we will come out of this difficulty. It will take us a couple of years, definitely, and probably we won't reach the levels of 2019 until 3 or 4 years from now. But that will happen to all the world, basically. So as this is a global crisis, that is the difference with all previous crises. This is global. This is happening to all of us. So I guess we're giving a couple of steps backwards, but all of us are doing that. So it won't look as bad for certain countries.
As they say, we share both the benefit and the cost of interconnectedness, being a global economy, a global world, and a global culture.
Yes.
One concluding thought, which is on really all of our minds, what is the one part of your business or home life that you think has changed forever because of this crisis?
Forever. that's wow. Forever.
Or at least forever in our lifetimes.
I hope nothing forever. I think for the next couple of years, traveling is going to change big time. I think at least work travel is going to be reduced significantly. We won't be traveling this year for sure. I don't see myself taking a plane this year. Hopefully next year I will be able to do it. So that's the big thing I think will change for the next 2 years. Tourism will change for the next 2 years. Virtuality is here to stay. I don't believe we're going to work remotely from now on. I think as human beings, we want to go back to our offices and to our social life and, the way we do things. And that will come back. But we're going to be more flexible office-wise. I mean, we will be working more from home, but on a voluntary basis. Flexibility is here to stay, I think. And virtuality is here to stay.
So, Claudia, I know you're a great traveler, despite this change in the world. What's the number one place you would go as soon as there's a vaccine and you can get on an airplane?
Oh, my goodness. I'll tell you what was my last travel. I was in Miami diving with sharks. And this is true. That was in February when nobody knew this was going to happen. So maybe the first place I want to go is to dive wherever. Probably it's going to be Colombia because I think international travel is going to be more difficult at the beginning.
Well, there are lots of places you can dive around the world that are absolutely gorgeous. I'm sure you'll find one, Claudia.
I am sure.
Well, thank you so much for sharing this time with us today, Claudia. And for this edition of SCG Global Spin, thank you so much. And back to you, Kate.
And that concludes our recording. Thank you for joining us today. You can find this and many other episodes at scgglobalspin.com. We hope to see you soon.